Welcome to the Rising Consciousness Show, 20 minutes of soulful insights and powerful tools to elevate your life experience and create with higher clarity, intention, and vision. I'm Tara Antler, intuitive healer and soul coach.
And I'm King Gabriel, spiritual teacher and practitioner. And we are the co-founders of Ascension Academy of Life,
a global center for spiritual growth, intuitive healing, and soul alignment.
Get ready to blast off.
All right. I'm so excited to be here with everyone today to have a really powerful, empowering, high vibrational conversation all around the world of business and being able to shift and pivot and move on your feet really fast. This is something that I've been saying since 2019 and 20 and 21 and 22. And now we're moving into 2023. And I have a guest with us who she has not only proven that it's possible to shift and then be successful, but also be able to let go of certain things that she's learned along the way and be willing to open up to a whole new way of doing business, which has led to such incredible success. So without further ado, I want to introduce our beautiful guest, Mary Morgan, somebody that I met actually through a previous business consulting and coaching experience that we were both in. And I just remember her face popping up all the time. And she would ask really great questions. And I always paid attention to the people that asked really great questions because I was like, that's somebody that I really want to get to know a little bit more. And so over the years, we've kind of danced in the same circles and moved about in the same worlds. And I've been following her work and she's been popping in and seeing what we've been up to. And so I really am so excited to have you here, Mary. I want to just tell everybody about who you are, and then we're going to dive on in. So Mary, as always, trying to describe somebody in a few short words or sentences, is not always possible. We're going to do our best to amplify the energy so that you can feel Mary's energy from the words that I'm about to share with you. So she went from having $100 to her name 3 years ago. Okay. So we're the end of 2022 now as we're recording this. So 3 years ago, and then moving into her first $100,000 cash collected month. That's huge. Most people don't even do that in a year. And then Mary, she went on to take on the world by storm, being able to say, okay, like, this is what we got to do. I'm going to help you. She started her business she was on over 165 sales calls before closing a single client. This was the kind of stuff she was doing before, right? And for those of you that are in business, you might relate to this, where you talk to a lot of people. And so when you do all that marketing stuff that she has done in the past, she was taught all of that in the corporate world. And when your work can only be experienced to be understood, how can you even sell that? Was the question that she started to ask herself. So this was a revolutionary thought for her that changed her life completely. She created a whole new wave of marketing with a focus on experiential and identity marketing, which I'm so excited to have this conversation about today. She works with entrepreneurs around the globe on things like femme communication, magnetic selling, experiential marketing, building a world-renowned brand. She now sells multi-$1,000 packages from inside her inbox with no back and forth conversations, no sales calls, no sales page. And she's totally simplified the process to the point where a lot of the people who come into her programs, all it takes is a link that she sends and they say yes. So welcome, Mary. I'm so excited to have you here.
I'm so excited to be on with you as well.
Oh, it's going to be so much fun. And I was sharing with Mary that a lot of our community and people who tune into our podcast, the Rising Consciousness podcast, we're all about talking about uplifting and up-leveling the conversation. And I know this is something that you personally have gone through, right? From learning certain sales strategies and then realizing there's got to be a better way. So can you tell everybody a little bit about that story and how that all happened for you?
Yeah, for sure. So, it was so interesting being in the corporate world of sales, picking up computer paper, calling number after number, selling just very cold, hard marketing that I think so many of us are used to. And in fact, I think a lot of us fear, when you pick up a phone, is this going to be duct cleaning that's calling you? And you're trying to come up with like, how do I end this call really quickly, right? So a lot of us have this sales resistance that's been built up. And as I was building my coaching business, I actually started as a graphic designer, and I had my own agency that I was building, and I was doing websites and getting into this whole space. And it was really based on referrals. People would come in, they would build something, they would refer someone to my work. And, I was selling multi-thousand-dollar packages at the time. And I had someone who asked me, how are you doing this? And I started giving them some things that I've been doing in sales and corporate in terms of marketing and all the things. They would implement it. They saw great results. So I'm like, could this even be a business? Like, could I start doing this? Like, this was so cool. And this was before I even knew that the coaching world existed. Like, I didn't think that
Wow.
you can get paid to give someone advice. Um, that just didn't compute in my mind. I thought that you needed to have a tangible, like, what am I getting? I never thought that you could literally take your knowledge. So that was something that I began and I started. And, obviously since then we've taught so many people how to do the same thing, because I feel like the ripple effect in this space is just so, so huge. So as
Yeah.
I got into this world, just like you said, a lot of us are taught old marketing tactics of like, okay, get 500 leads, get 10,000 leads,
Mm-hmm.
and then you're going to move them through 17 hoops. Who are your hot leads? Who are your cold leads? And it makes sense. This is what I did in corporate as well. It's like, who are you servicing? What are your numbers? And I was in so many roles that if I didn't hit my quota, I was fired that day. Like,
Wow.
that's how cutthroat it was. And when you're so dependent on like, this is your income, that obviously becomes a really difficult space to be in. So being in this like
Mm-hmm.
so heavy masculine world and then moving into the online space, I still did a lot of the things. And I hit a breaking point not too long ago, maybe like a year and a half ago, where
Mm-hmm.
I was hitting, $1 million run rate. And I got to this point, or just under, some months were
Mm-hmm.
70K, some were 80, blah, blah, blah. But I was hitting this point where I just felt like I can't go on like this. And
Yeah.
I felt like the same tiny little thing that had $100 in her account, that had no money, that was broke as hell, that was frustrated, that was crying all the time. Like, I felt like that person. And I was like, how does
Again.
this keep
Mm-hmm.
you?
Yeah.
Being this person that's making so much money, how do you feel like you have no money? How do you
Mm-hmm.
feel like you have no time? And I'm sitting
Yeah.
across the table from my fiance, who's my boyfriend at the time, and we're having dinner and I'm keeping a smile on my face and I'm just so stressed. Like, I was going through the motions. It's like everything in life was black and white. Like, I could
Yeah.
not feel anything. I was just doing things. I was hiring team. I was bringing on staff and I wanted to grow the business. So I had an appointment setter and a closer. Like, I was doing all of that. And, there came a moment where, and I think it's so hard for entrepreneurs listening, where you have a system that's working. I feel like it's actually scarier when that happens because you're scared to let it go.
For
You're
sure.
scared to try
Mm-hmm.
something new that might not work because you're doing something that's working and is
Mm-hmm.
bringing money and is bringing the thing. So that was one of the hardest things for me, is like, and I made a post about this that said, do I keep putting out all the fires or do I just let it burn and rebuild?
Wow. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's powerful and scary at the same time, right?
Yeah, extremely, extremely so. So,
Mm-hmm.
and I think a lot of people resonate with this, whether you're like just getting started and it's like, do I stop all the things that I know and really go head on and do this thing? Or for someone who, just like I, had a pretty successful business and you're like, do I rebuild all of this? Like,
Yeah.
fire team, get rid of this, like all of that. And that was extremely, extremely difficult. So, I followed my
Mm-hmm.
intuition and I was like, I need to redo this.
Yeah.
So, I
Happy
went
that you said
from,
that. Mm-hmm.
yeah, and I went from, launching, it was crazy because I went from launching these events where we had tons of people who were joining our world. And, I talked about this week in our evolution masterclass we were holding, where, when we did this, we followed, again, typical marketing things, are like, share your case studies, share your stories. You're taught to like really promote, here's how you're going to lose 6 pounds in 6 weeks, make your first 100K
Mm-hmm.
in X number of weeks. And then you have people who, of course, join your world for that reason. And then when they don't see that result right away, because some will, some won't,
Yeah.
it's just a transaction. They're in this for
Yeah.
that result. And if they don't see that result, they're really unhappy. So we had a really high attrition and churn rate and people were frustrated. So it was like, from not wanting to grow the team, and I grew the team, to me it was quite large. We had almost like 10, 11 people on team, and these are like payroll staff
Yeah.
members and all
Yep.
the things. And I'm like, I don't even want this many people on my team.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, just growing in that way, having people who came in and who saw this as a transaction, who didn't see this as like a lasting relationship. So I was like, I'm not going to keep putting out fires. You know, things will burn as they will. So I
Yep.
invited clients to exit if they wanted to. I invited team to do the same. I'm like, here's where we're going, if that aligns or not. So I invited a lot of people to exit my world at this time. And then that's when I
Mm-hmm.
started to rebuild. So we had obviously a huge income dip in our business, and it was like I was starting felt like I
All
started
over.
completely over. But I
Mm-hmm.
invited that into my existence because I said, this is what we're doing. So what then happened was, you know, I shifted everything. Instead of putting people through 10,000 loops and hoops and saying like, you know, come attend this thing and then get on a 45-minute call. And then if you're not too sure, don't worry about it. Let's get on another call. Like there was a lot of that. There was a lot of trying to negate risk and make this an easy decision for you. And you would want to come in. There was a lot of like, here are the results our clients are experiencing. Here's how you're so well supported and babied. So people
Mm-hmm.
who, you know, on the front end and the back end, it was a disaster, right? You're marketing to people
Absolutely.
who are just not a fit. You're serving people who are just not a fit. So I built this completely unaligned business. And then what we did is we turned it all over its head. So I talk a lot about bricks and balls in my world,
Which I
where
love, by the way.
yeah, no idea how I thought about this. It just happened on one of our inner circle calls where I'm like, what is something that just doesn't move versus something that
Yeah.
does?
You
So,
got the
you know,
divine drop down, I call them.
I did. The divine drop down was huge on that call. So, you know, what really resonates with a lot of clients is this, especially if, you know, you've got entrepreneurs and you're helping people with anxiety or you're doing healing work, especially, right? Some people will hide under this
Yep.
title of like, well, I'm introverted. Well, I can't because I'm different. This is what's happening. So the bricks that I see are someone who you try and push, you try and move, they're just not going to move. Um, a ball is like you give them a little flick and they're moving, they're rolling, and that's the kind of person that they are. So for me, I flipped everything over. Instead of trying to show my most successful case studies, like, yes, I still talk about client results for sure, but I focused on longevity. Like, I will have some clients that
Mm-hmm.
come on who haven't had big results or any financial results in 3 years and then just purchase 2 additional years of being in our program. Like, why does that happen?
Right.
Um, so having conversations, and I think it's so refreshing. Like a lot of people who witnessed this
Mm-hmm.
was like, oh my gosh, like it is so cool to see people who you're sharing testimonials that aren't, oh my gosh, I made $10,000 in a minute, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
I was
so
just
so
gonna
big.
say, what I love about what you just said, I've been taking a few notes because I'm like, oh my gosh, there's so many places that I want to dive a little deeper into. One of the
Yeah.
things that you just touched on right there was the shift that we're seeing, and I think a lot of people are seeing, is instead of it being, like you said, a transactional experience, have it
Mhm.
be a real experience. And I
Yeah.
really feel like the world is craving this now more than ever. Of having real conversations, because what Gabriel and I talk about all the time is that there's the world of the dangling carrots, right? The
Mhm.
world of glamour. If only you do this, then you will have
Yes.
this. If only, it's like the magic show, right?
And it's so
If you do
sexy.
this,
It's so
and
sexy. Yeah.
it totally is. It pulls us in. It's like the good movie where you're like, oh, I can't take my eyes off of this, you know? And we want it so bad because there's something within us that is drawn to have, whether it be the lifestyle or the money
Yeah.
or the experience or whatever. But I think there's this turn that's happening now, which you touched on. It's the level of responsibility back to the person, to the client, to say,
Mhm.
I choose, I take responsibility for my success and for my growth and for whatever happens. And that's most likely why you're having people renewing year after year too, because they want to
Yeah.
be in the experience and the energy of what you're providing and holding for them, which also allows them to feel really empowered.
Yes. Yes. And
Hmm.
it's huge. Like a huge thing you hear in the marketing space is like, how can we negate risk? How can we make this such an easy
Right.
yes? But it's like, do you want an easy yes? Like,
Hmm.
if you're looking for a relationship, are you looking for the easiest relationship? Are you looking for the best relationship? You know?
Yeah.
So for us, you know, when we go to market now, it's like yes, we'll still share things that are happening in our client results because I think it's helpful and inspiring, but it's also having conversations around like, what is the experience like, and being so transparent. Because I think for a lot of people, you might join a mastermind and you're like, well, I have no idea what calls are like. Well, I have no idea what
Mhm.
conversations feel like. So it's how can we also be, and this is where experiential marketing comes into place. It's like, how can I experience this? Especially
Mhm.
in, the work of, I know for a lot of your clients, you might have people who are in the healing space or people who are in, different niches like this, where it's like, you
Mhm.
can't market something that you need to experience.
Absolutely. And I think this is where a lot of healers and soul coaches, when they're working on the spiritual side of things, it has been I know for myself, it's been a challenge. And this is coming from
Yeah.
someone who's been in business for 20 years. And everything was all referral. And it was because of the experience. Like I'd even have
Yeah.
clients say, you have to book a session with Tara. And they're like, tell me more about it. And the client would say, well, it's kind of hard to put it all into words. You just have to go experience it. Right. And so the
Yes.
fact that you just said that right now, I really feel like this is so going to land with our community because this has
Yes.
been I call it like one of the healers' challenges is being able to say, this is all that's going to happen or potentially happen in one session or in an experience with us in a program. And how do you take all that and put it into this small little thing? And so I
Yeah, you
love that you're
can't.
talking about the experience, right? You can't. Exactly.
Yeah,
And
like
you know
I
what's
know.
interesting? Go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, you go
Okay.
ahead.
I was gonna just say, like, okay, if someone's trying to take a 60-minute call, and like in a 60-minute call, you can literally change your life, but how do you explain that? So,
Exactly.
people who come through evolution, even just like day one was insane. We had people come through and I didn't go through any of our offers for an entire week. People will see our content. Like I desire people who don't need to see a pitch, who invite and ask
Mhm.
to see, what do you have available? And of course, there's ways to create, like, I truly believe you need to have obviously a system. Like you need to definitely talk about
Yep.
your offers, but you also want to have a really beautiful balance where when you're not talking about offers, you say a sentence, people are drawn and they buy. Like, how do we create
Exactly.
that? Yeah.
I think that's great. And you know what? Something that you said, easy, and I'm not sure if you said easy versus best, but I wrote that down. And what I think is interesting is that by focusing on having the best experience or having the best client come in or wanting the best relationships, the best, whatever it is, you then get easy, right? Because you're not
Yes.
focused on the easy, but you get easy and you get the flow because you're focused on creating the best experience. And I think that is
Yes.
just so beautiful. It's something in our world we call the divine overflow. And so when you're
Mm.
focused on the best experience or the helping the person in the best way possible, you're showing up as your best self, you start to find that you live in this thing called the overflow, and then life becomes easy. So I think that's really great that
Yeah.
you brought that forward because by focusing on the best, you're getting easy. And I've seen this happen in your world for the last couple of
Mhm.
years. It looks so easy and flowing, which
And
is
it
so
is,
attractive.
and it is so
Hmm.
fun. Like,
Right.
what else
Hmm.
do we want? We want to live our best life and just have clients that come to us and then us to serve. Like, we didn't, no one started a business to ask, how do I put what I'm saying into bullet points? Like, no one, right? It's like,
Absolutely.
what
Absolutely.
what you're actually desiring is like, I want to have the best life. I want my clients to have the best life and I want to change the world. So
Hmm.
what we found in this conversation is like, when you have, a lot of people will structure where they have like one main offer, one main thing. And it's like, but what if someone just had a Voxer day with you? Like I had a client who did one day in Voxer with me, and she's like, I got more out of this than 12 months of private coaching with my mentor. Like,
Wow.
I cannot, and that's literally to what you're saying, Tara. It's like when you are just
Hmm.
so good at your work and you refine it and you love it because this process gets to be so fun, people
Hmm.
experience it and they're like, in the healing space, it's even easier because they can actually feel a transformation, like physically,
Exactly.
mentally, right? In the
Hmm.
marketing world, it's like I just show them all these opportunities. They start doing things, they implement, and they're like, wow, it worked. Like, they're doing that whole process. So I think it's just such a gateway, especially as we go into this new season of life where, just like you said, people are craving
Yeah.
connection. We've all had really horrible investments that we've made that are just expensive life lessons. But
Hmm.
as we made these decisions, people are getting more guarded of making investments and making decisions because there is that fear. And without,
Mhm.
then what a lot of us do is what I was saying before, we try and negate risk, we try and make it easy because they're scared, which is so
Exactly.
logical. Like it makes sense. You're scared. Here's how I can make you less scared. Where for me,
Yeah,
I see this trigger as an activation for you to rise into your next level version of yourself and lead yourself through this. And I mentor through doing this myself, and you get to experience and see how I do this. And then you get to either take that on or decide not to.
exactly. And I think what it does is it allows the power to be back in the person. Like you're in your power, they're in their power.
Mm,
You're leading by intuition, they're
yes.
leading by intuition, right? Like everybody gets to feel and be honored in that experience, which creates an entirely different feel like someone, because you hear this all the time too, right? In the sales room, I feel like you're just trying to pull a fast one on me, or maybe because
Yeah.
they've had that experience of the dangling carrots and then things didn't work out and people feel disappointed and then deflated. And so that
Yes.
triggers the whole trust experience or lack of trust.
You
And
know,
so
it's
I really
hilarious.
feel
Like
like, yeah,
in evolution, actually, there were so many people who literally said, "Oh my gosh, I was scared to DM your team at first because I just thought they were going to sell to me." And when they didn't, I was like, "What is happening?" Like
wow,
there was just such a weird energy around that. Someone actually mentioned that on the Q&A, and she was like, I was afraid to reach out. And this is what I call sales resistance, when we're so used to certain
yeah,
things that are going to happen that we resist doing something because of that fear. Just like picking up your
absolutely.
phone and going, well, this is an unknown caller. It's either going to be a random number calling from a computer, a different
Hmm.
language, or it's going to be, duct cleaning services or whatever. So we have this resistance to picking up a
Hmm.
number that we don't know for that reason.
With 2023 just around the corner, we know that it is the prime time to be focused on what you want to create in this next year ahead. If you want to excel as a creator, as a manifester with powerful tools, with precision, to be able to actively create whatever it is that you want to create your most exceptional life, come and join us at our next complimentary workshop, Thrive in 5 Money and Manifestation Mastery. We kick off the first week of January. Click the link in the comments below. Come and join us. We're going to have so much fun. It's going to be an awesome way to kick off the new year and create everything that you want this year. I'm so glad you mentioned that because the other day, well, this was back close to Halloween. I think we were in town and we live in a small town in Northern Ontario. And I think you're in Ontario. Aren't you in Toronto?
Yes. Yes, I
Yeah,
am.
okay, I thought so. I thought so. And so we were in town and we went to this little, it was like a Spookyville event, and it was so much fun. They had like
Mm,
the tarot card readers and of course you go into a small town, everybody knows each other. And so we had
yeah.
this woman come up to us, she goes, "I'm so sorry." And I looked at her, I said, "For what?" Like I have no idea what she's talking about. And she said, "I was in your group," and she said, "I got totally freaked out because I got this message from what I then later found out was one of your team members. And it was just a welcome message, right? It was just, "Hey, we just wanted to welcome you to the group," because that's something Gabriel and I have always done
Yeah.
before social media and before, like, we would host live events in Toronto. That's where I lived for 14 years. And so
Yes.
we'd host all these live events. So we were always like hands on in connection. But she got this message from one of our team members and she got freaked out. And she's
She's
like,
like, shit,
"Oh my
another
God."
one.
Right? She's like, "Oh my God, what's happening here?" She's like, "Why is this person messaging me? Why are they sending me a friend request? What is happening here?" And she goes, "I got so freaked out because I thought maybe it was like a creeper." And she goes, "And you never know what's going on in the world these days. And this person's creeping me." So she goes, I left the group and I unfriended her and I did. And then I was talking to my sister and she said, "No, that's Tara Antler's group." She's like, "Oh my God, I feel so bad." And so I said to Gabriel, I go, "Isn't that really great feedback though?
Yeah.
Because this is what we've been taught and trained to do." And also, I mean,
Mhm.
when we are coming from a very authentic place where it's part of like what we would normally do, but people are getting scared, right?
Yeah.
And so I think by leading by your intuition and following the flow that you did, I really feel like you've stumbled upon something very beautiful. And I really
Mhm.
feel like it's going to change the interaction experience between those that are searching for help or buying something, a service, a coaching, and then the provider. It's gonna change the
Yeah.
game.
And
Mhm.
I think it's hard for us because, like, I see so many people every single day that are like so close, ready to make a decision. And a part of you is like, come on, do it. Like you're gonna change your life because
Right.
you know everything that's on the
Mhm.
inside. But the other part of you is like, no, I can't. Like, you need to lead yourself through this because that's the only way that you're going to transform. So I
Yeah.
think this is such an interesting dynamic, like whether you're a healer, you're in the business side, wellness, like really
Hmm.
doesn't matter, but really leading by example, leading yourself, having your people witness this and see this. And I talk often about how I invest, what my story looks like, and just giving people that evidence, but allowing them this space so that they can move when they're ready.
I think that's so beautiful. That's so beautiful. It reminds me of a dance. The way you just described it, I had this vision of a dance in my mind, where it's like giving people the space. Like, do you want to come and dance and play over
Yes.
here? No, that's okay. Like, we're still going to be having the party go and the music's
Yes.
go and we're good. Like, we're having fun. And when you want to come join, it's great. And if you don't, that's totally cool too. We love you. Like, I think
Yes.
it's such a much more beautiful experience and no one ever feels pushed, you
Yes,
know?
yes. And
Mm-hmm.
it's funny that you mentioned a dance because it's like, imagine if you're just pushing everyone to come on the dance floor with you and you're so aggressive. People are leaving
Right.
this building. They're
Yeah.
just like, oh my goodness, like what is going on? And then the fear comes
Absolutely.
up of then attending other dances like this in
Yeah.
fear of other people doing this. So I think what's so key to what you're saying is like, how can we, because I think we want things, but we don't show up in the way that we need to for the thing to
Yeah.
happen. So it's
Yeah.
like, I want people who make decisions quickly, yet you're like, the way you show up doesn't make sense with that. You'll say things like, I want people who just move, they don't need details. And then you'll make a post that's like, if you have any questions, DM me for details. So it becomes just such a
Right.
mismatch. So it's like you need to
Right.
show up in your marketing in how you actually want to serve. Like I was saying, so much access, like, oh my gosh, you get so much access, thinking that that would be such a service, realizing that A, that brought on the wrong person, and B, obviously that's a nightmare on just an operational side of things.
Right.
But it's
Well,
like,
I love
are
that
you
you just said
actually
that.
aligning? Yeah.
Totally. Well, that's what it is. It's the congruency, right? And this is what we keep seeing happening all over the place right now is there is a congruency between what we are saying, what we want, how we show up. All of it has to now line up. This is just the time
Yeah.
that we're in. And that's how people start seeing really cool, miraculous manifestations start to happen is because
Yes.
all parts are in congruency and in alignment. And I love that you just brought that forward because it's the simple things that we don't even think about. Right? It's exactly
Mm-hmm.
that. Like, oh, well, I want to offer this and I want it to be easy, but here's the wording and what we're choosing to say, and it's not in alignment.
And
And
it's
that
not
does create,
conscious. Yeah.
no, well, that's what it is. And I think it's so well practiced. There's certain words, our
Mm,
client hears me say this all the time. There's certain words I just don't say anymore because I
mm,
realized it was so habitually trained into society. And when I really
yeah.
stepped back and I started looking at not only what does this word mean, but what's the energy around this? There were certain things that
Yes.
just did
Yes.
not feel good, you know?
And this
And
is
so
why,
I,
like in evolution, when I said when you're positioning your offer, I needed to give context to how I mean position, because a lot of people hear
mhm,
positioning as how do I like a facade? How do I want to make this appear so that people experience what I'm saying in a certain way? How do I get them to buy? Like positioning your offer. So I needed to give context to when I say positioning, this isn't convincing, this is educating, like this is what it is, not positioning.
absolutely. No, I think that's so brilliant. I love that you bring that forward. And I have a question for you too, because something that you
Mhm.
mentioned in terms of a turning point for you and listening to your intuition, was there any, because I've seen the transition in you too, from going when you first started to where you are now, it's visible. Like the changes
Yeah.
in who you've become are visible. So have you, because I haven't asked you this question and I don't know, so
Yeah.
I'm curious, have you gone through your own spiritual evolution and expansion? Because I can see it.
Yes, I have. So I've worked with a couple different people in terms of like, especially at that turning point for me where I was like, I'm making
Hmm.
lots of money, but I'm not happy. And really
Yeah.
just understanding like what do you actually want? Because just like we said, you're talking about things, but then and they're a match for that thing. So I actually didn't know what I wanted. And that's why I was
Right.
getting all the things to be like, well, is this what you wanted? Yes or no? Is
You
this
got to
what you
sample
want?
the ice
Yes or
cream.
no? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Like, do you want clients like this? Definitely not. So sometimes, although it's very frustrating in those moments where you have those like big things that happen and whether it's boundaries that are being pushed or whatever. But obviously I see each of these things as a gift, because without pushing the limit, I actually wouldn't know what my boundary would have been. And your intuition
Mm-hmm.
knows always. I'm like, yes, that feels so good. Like the way that I handled this, or the way that this person showed up in this kind of a container or space, and then vice versa. Like it's little things. I used to
Mm-hmm.
see not clients that didn't show up on calls. I saw that as, well, they're not liking the program, and there was like validation issues that were coming up for me.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I actually saw behind the scenes, it was like, oh, they're just so plugged in. But a lot of our clients love
Absolutely.
listening on replay, and they
Mm-hmm.
don't need to be live. So I was
Yeah.
like, okay. So validation came up, boundaries came up, like just truly testing my limits. Do I like showing up this way? Do I not like showing up this way? And just really experiencing all of this. So I think a part of it is like experiential, because we can say that we want something and really feel into it,
Mm-hmm.
and then experience it and be like, nope, just like a relationship. And
Absolutely.
I did a lot of stuff where I did do some spiritual growth as well, and tapped into like, what do I actually desire? What do I want to create? What would feel really good? And just understanding, like, decision making used to be so difficult for me. And it used to
Mm-hmm.
feel, and this came from like past traumatic stuff as well. Like,
Yeah.
if you made a decision as a kid and you made the wrong decision, it was like all hell would break loose in my
Yeah.
household.
Yeah.
So I had to work through, how are all decisions actually okay and safe to make? Like, I kid you
Mm-hmm.
not, deciding between two food options, I was like, I don't know. And it was like
Right.
post-apocalyptic,
Yeah.
trying to decide, do you
Yeah.
want pizza, pasta, salad? Like, you know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
just working through that obviously has been huge. And this is where, now I take my clients through this as well, not into the depths of like spirituality, because, that's not something I've mastered. And my space is really the marketing, but soul-led marketing. So
Mm-hmm.
when I
That's
do this
beautiful.
work, yeah, when I do this with work with my clients now, when someone comes on a call and I can tell that that's not their question, like I will call that out and be like, is that actually your question? What, like, and we
Mm-hmm.
do a lot of this work. So it's not just, okay, here's your answer, because then they'll go apply that and it'll be like a long-winded 3 months experience of trying to do it, realizing that wasn't what they desired. So it's really getting on a call, and I haven't yet experienced this to this depth myself, being in different, I mean, I'm in so many different masterminds and programs myself that I love being in. And very rarely, especially if you don't have a long-term relationship with your mentor, are they able to pick these little nuances up.
Right.
And this
Yeah.
is why I say it's so important to work with someone and do long-term mentorship, because
Mm-hmm.
I see my clients where they were 2 years ago, 3 years ago, where they're headed. Like, I just love them so deeply as a person, not just as a client. Like, I know that their
Absolutely.
relationships, I know their husband and their, how they met 30 years ago, like their whole
Mm-hmm.
story. There's just so much depth to that. And I think what's so important in this world of mentorship is this long relationship where, a client comes on, I know what's going to activate her, what's going to trigger her on this call. Like, I know she's
Mm-hmm.
showing up a certain way. I'm like, oh, that's not your question. Like, tell me what's actually
Yeah.
happening. One of my clients said, I'm not getting a lot of story views. And I looked at her content, and, a part of it was strategic, of like creating better feed content on her Instagram, so people actually are more in tune with her stories. But the other was like having, when you engage so much with your clients like this, you see so much depth and power to them, where then they show up on social media like, I'm going to post on social media, where there's
Mm-hmm.
so much more depth to it. So it's really like, how can you pull that out? Again, experiential. How can we actually experience this depth in a 30-second video that you post?
Yeah, I love that. I think it's so amazing and beautiful. And that's one thing I hold space for all the time, are coaches and mentors that really do the deep dive work with the people in
Mm-hmm.
front of them, because
Yeah.
it's so important to have those, regardless of the industry you're in, to have those really beautiful connection points and create something miraculous together. Because it's
Yeah.
not just this, okay, you're doing this work over here and I'm doing this work over here. We're really coming into that time and space again where we're truly helping each other. Because when we all get to lift up and rise in that way, we all get to thrive and have fun being an
Yes.
expanded experience, which then just uplifts the entire thing. And I think that right now, I really feel like we're going to see a lot of entrepreneurs rise in the next year. I
Hmm.
think there's going to be a lot of new ideas coming forward.
Yeah.
And
I
I
think we're all
really
sick of
feel
the same stuff.
I think so too. And I feel like like what you're bringing forward is going to be so beautiful and potent for people to actually say,
Yeah.
okay, because I hear it all the time. There's got to be an easier way. I hear myself saying this. There's got to be an easier way. There's got to be an easier way. And then
Yeah.
when you hear it, you find it, and you land on it, it just makes sense. It aligns so beautifully. And
Exactly.
I love
And
everything that you've brought forward.
I think what's so big, Tara, too, is like in my space, what I desire for my clients is like how to find your easier way, not my easier
Hmm.
way.
Hmm.
Because I think what a lot of coaches do is, here's what we're doing, here's what works right now in the industry. It's like, here's the thing as a whole, here's what you should be doing. If you're not doing this, you're not going to see this amount of revenue or clients
Hmm.
or whatever. Where like, I don't think that that's true at all. We have so many businesses, physical and online, that are set up in completely different ways, where
Hmm.
there's always your way of doing it. And really finding what's going to be easier for each individual. Like I have some clients who don't love doing video stuff, some clients who are amazing at written copy, some clients who, certain kinds of events and workshops or in person or whatever, like it just flows so well. So what I've really mastered is
Hmm.
how to pull that out from someone and build their easier way,
I love
as
that.
well as like how to really refine potency. So for me, and
Hmm.
I talked about this in evolution, it's like you don't need to be plugged into a million different things and watch 7,000 different videos. Like there's so much information that exists online.
Yeah.
So just like a gym membership, when you pay whatever it is per month, it's not like I need to use every single machine to maximize my gym membership.
Exactly.
Like
Yeah.
what a disaster if I saw someone going from like
Oh
machine to
man.
machine. I
Oh
would just laugh.
man.
But that's what a lot of people do in this space, right? They're like, well, I have access to calls, but I'm not using them. I have access to this, but I'm not using this. So I think,
Hmm.
these are moments to rise as leaders and actually show clients how to walk through that experience and be activated by the abundance,
Yeah.
and have a feeling of like it's okay to leave some things. And that actually requires quite a bit of power in the individual. So like one of my big focuses is how to turn every piece of content that a client taps into. So whether you listen to 10 seconds, 30 seconds, 3 hours, like it's a life-changing conversation. So having
Hmm.
every single second be extremely potent is one of my focuses for
I
next
love
year's.
that.
So that's
Oh, I
exciting.
love that. I think that's so powerful. And I love the unique piece too, because again, I think that's something, especially when I look at the healing world and soul coaching and spirituality, that's something that happens in every session. When somebody says, well, what's the session going to be like? Every
Yeah.
session's different. I cannot give you a cookie cutter. And I've trained many students, and even at the Transformational Arts College in Toronto. And I remember so many times, the student would come, and I was a student at that school as well. And we'd want the formula, right? We'd want the, okay,
Yeah.
just tell me what I need to do. And I think there's so many of us, we want that to a certain extent because it's safe, right? It feels
Mhm.
like, okay, just tell me what I need to do to get out of the gates. And then when we start evolving and we start stepping into our own, it's like, here's the framework. Now I'm going to help you create yours. And you're going to create
Yeah.
something that's intuitively amazing and that is uniquely yours, so that there is no cookie cutter. Because I don't
Mhm.
feel it's a one size fits all. And I love that you bring that forward. Because again, I
Yeah.
think there's a lot of people that are searching for it. And that's probably why they're searching in all the different things too, because they're like, oh my God, it's like the machines you said, the gym. Okay, I'm going to try this.
Yeah.
And I'm going to do this. And I'm going to go over here and I'm going to do that. And I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. And then I don't even know what to do. And it gets
Why do
so
I not have abs
confusing.
yet? Yeah. It's like
And you
because you're
burn so
on
much
all the
energy
machines.
and you're not getting results, right?
Yeah. 100%,
Yeah.
100%. I love what you said about the like, well, just tell me what to do, right? Because I think a lot of people,
Yeah.
give their power away to their coach or mentor or
Hmm.
program, and it's like really stepping into your own is huge. So yeah,
Hmm.
100%.
No, I love that. And I would love for you to tell everybody, because I know you've mentioned evolution, and I was like, I've been binge watching the episodes myself. So can you tell everybody about the current workshop that you're in? Because I do want to post this sooner than later, and tell
Sure.
everybody a little bit more about the work and what you're creating, what's, top of mind, top of heart for you.
Yeah, sounds good. So evolution's incredible. It kind of walks through what we just talked about, this evolution from I used to do sales calls and have conversations and run multi-day, really long events where we're tagging people and messaging, like just very, very heavy stuff. And we've evolved that now to closing sales in the DM, like very simple 50K, pay in full link. Here you go on a Stripe link. And it's just been the simplest thing. So in evolution, I walk you through how we do that. And this process has really been, how do you actually create a brand where people build that trust? They build that relationship. So prior to a conversation, like you really don't need one. So when they get into a DM, it's either a simple question or I'm ready, send me the link. So in evolution, we go through how do we actually build this out? And I'm sure Tara will drop the link in, I guess, the show notes.
Yeah, I will have it all for everybody.
Perfect. Amazing. And that's probably the best way at this moment to tap into this work and really experience what this is like. And you'll have like the trainings that are in there, homework to actually dive in. And we actually had someone yesterday on the Q&A who was like, holy crap, I just closed a 15K pay in full sale, his highest pay in full sale yet through
Wow.
this process. And I ran a similar event not too long ago, not evolution, but sales in the DMs, and someone purchased a really low ticket workshop. And again, experiential marketing. She went into this, she implemented it, closed her first 10K sale in the DMs, where she's never closed anything in the DMs, only has done sales conversation. So the power of this work is huge.
Wow.
So big.
That is huge. That's amazing. What a transformation in the process. Oh my
I
gosh.
know, I know. And if you think about this, this is like I don't know, 5 days that he's been like in this thing, like insane. So yeah, this is just such a high value pack training. And I'm sure if you've been in this world for a while, there'll still be things in there that you haven't heard. And some of the things, if you have, it'll just land so deeply. But the feedback we've gotten from this has been like nothing else.
It's incredible. I'm so happy to hear that. And can you share, I'm going to share your website in the show notes as well, but can you share where's the best place for people to connect with you if they want to tap into your world and learn more about you?
Yeah, Instagram right now is probably the best place. We've maxed out on like Facebook for like at friend requests on our personal profile. You can follow along on Facebook too, but Instagram's great at marymorgan.biz. I don't currently have a website actually, so like that's probably the best place.
Amazing.
We're
That's
still
great. I've been
building our
hearing this.
website.
I've been hearing this more and more. You know, we have clients ask us this all the time. They're like, okay, so now I'm getting ready to start a business and I got to get my website. And I'm like, hold up. I'm like, I don't think anymore that that's the first thing you need to do. I'm like, 20 years ago, that's what we had to do. But it
I
was,
know.
we were like ground level, you know, the times have changed, right? So
You
I'm
know,
so
it's
happy to hear
crazy.
that.
Like, even when I had my design business, obviously people want to see your work and what you do. I still didn't have a website. I literally had a PDF of my work and people would check that out
Wow.
and do it because I was so busy building everyone's things that I
Right?
had no time to
Mm-hmm.
do mine. And then when I moved into this
Exactly.
business, you know, we have templates that are created, but our team is so on deck with all the things that are happening in our world that it's such like a low priority because none of our clients really come through a website. It's either people who refer people, it's seeing us on social media, being tapped into this work. Like, and again, if it's experiential through a website, it's so difficult to experience what we have.
Absolutely. No, I love it. I'm so grateful to have you here and so grateful for you to share this with the community. And I know they're going to love this so much. Definitely check out what Mary's up to. She is a powerhouse. I really feel like she's revolutionizing the whole marketing world and just making things really easy and authentic and less of the cookie cutter and the systems and all the crazy stuff that comes with that. So you don't have to chase your tail. You don't have to be doing a cajillion things. Sometimes it's just about taking action on a few simple
Yes,
things that are going to create the most amount of movement. And as
100%.
Mary would say, be a ball, just a
Yes.
little flick, right? Be a ball, get the
And it's
momentum
totally
going.
free. Like evolution is a completely like complimentary training. And the amount of even like millionaires that are in that room that somehow found this has been insane. And the messages that we're getting that are like, oh my gosh, I have built my business on ads and events and things. And like, this has been such a huge missing piece for me. Like I did an interview with one of our clients
Mhm.
today where she talked about this and she's like, the game changer for me has been daily sales versus big sales, big
Mm-hmm.
injections here and there, and like getting our team on calls, and just like the heaviness of that, to now just doing a quick video and then having people who are like, yes, I'm in, send me the link, done.
Absolutely. Yeah, I totally agree with you. I think it's amazing. And it's what we need now. People, like energy's moving quick. So we got to be like on our
Yeah,
toes. We got to be moving with it,
100%.
right?
Yes.
Anything else you want to share with the community before we complete for today?
My last final thought would just be like, follow your intuition, follow your gut, listen to your heart. I know Tara says this quite a bit with your Thrive branding and all of that.
Mm,
And this is such a great space that you and Gabriel have built to really tap into. And if you feel called to use some of this in your marketing based on our conversation, then yeah, shoot me a DM if you have questions. And yeah, this has just been so fun. Thank
thank you
you.
so much. Thank you for being here. We send you so much love and support. Gabriel says hi as well. He's with the kiddos right now. And so we're both sending you so
Amazing.
much love and blessings and light and just
Thank
so
you.
much expansion and goodness for you and everything that you're bringing forth in the world. I know it takes courage to lead a different type of movement.
Mhm.
And it's one that I think and feel is very much needed right now and really powerful for the world.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. I look forward to connecting with you all again soon. Thank you so much for joining us today on another episode of the Rising Consciousness Show. For more high vibration, energy, conversation, meditations, activations, and tips and tools in creating your best life, come on over and join us in our complimentary Facebook group. All you have to do is go to www.facebook.com/groups/The Academy of Light. It is time to create your most exceptional life, and we can't wait to continue this journey with you.
You're listening to Rising Consciousness. Yeah.
Woo!
Woo!